This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened. We begin on November 20th, 1988, in Pacoima, California, as three high school friends set out to explore the nearby mountains.
Over a period of 1 year in the Angeles Crest Forest area, there have been 5 deaths. The whole mountain range is very dangerous. People want to climb and want to explore, and they get up in an area with loose shale that is very, very steep. And should they fall from the area, they would go down hundreds of feet down to the bottom.
On November 20th, 1988, high school friends Melissa, Josh, and Eric set out to hike in the mountains above Pacoima, California.
It was like no big thing starting off. I mean, they're firm rocks, and it eventually started getting steeper, and it started getting kind of slidey.
We kept climbing up, and we were to the point where we had to struggle to get up further.
"18-year-old Josh was in the lead.
Come on! You just gotta get a little higher.
Josh, you gotta slow down.
Josh! Watch out!
I can't make it, Josh.
A little more.
I knew I was in trouble when I looked over my shoulder and just seeing how high up I was. The track holes below us were like the size of a matchbook.
The steep shale cliff was crumbling under their feet, making it impossible to move safely. They were trapped.
When I saw that we couldn't get down or up the mountain, that's when I started to panic.
Josh, we can't go any further.
From a house down below, someone heard their cries for help and called 911.
Someone help us!
Calling to tell the Pacoima residents. There's about, I can see 3 people up there on the side of the hill. If I send the engine company over to your place, could they get to this person from? I think they can get to them from down below. Okay.
Units from the Los Angeles City Fire Department responded.
The rocks are giving!
We couldn't get back down because the rocks were all falling, and I was afraid we were going to slide and fall down.
Help us, please!
Oh.
The fire department was on the scene within 10 minutes, but the kids were too high up the unstable slope to be reached safely.
On the mountain. If you're okay, raise your one hand. We have help coming on the way. We will need a helicopter and repelling team.
Rescue 911, Roger. We'll get you some repellers.
Custody Battalion 12. Also notify the helicopter.
2 fire department rescue helicopters were then sent to the scene.
We have 3 parties stuck at this time. Please.
Firefighter Gary Ingham was the hoist operator.
A lot of times you think ahead of time. You try to figure out your strategy and how you're going to go about and do these things, and every one of them is different.
One chopper would try to pick the kids off the steep cliff, while the other, piloted by Sam Cooper, directed the dangerous rescue.
I'm flying what we call the command ship. It's an aircraft that's in control of the other aircraft, and you coordinate the events of the helicopters with the incident commander.
OCD, Fire 1 copy transmission, battalion 12, westbound, 5-minute ETA. OCD, you copy Fire 1, channel 8. Fire 1.
See him down there?
Okay, we got 3 victims down there.
As we arrived on scene, we could see 2 victims together and one further up the hill in a more precarious position.
Must be on the left side, the one that started to slide, huh?
Yeah.
The 3 that were up there were in a situation that was very dangerous. If they fall from those elevations, they could kill themselves.
When we continue,
You could see him hanging by a large rock. I thought at that point there's a good possible chance that we might lose the kid.
Okay, I got horsepower. Get out the switch lead under your seat so I can take it down with me.
Okay.
Moving into position.
Okay, I'm going out on the skids.
Okay.
Okay, I'm out on the skids. Got horsepower.
Horsepower.
Okay.
Instrument
Okay,
power.
he's turning around. He's on the skids. Okay, he's going down.
How's the spot?
Okay, he's at the skids.
What we did is we lowered A.O. Fluharty, and he had some rescue harnesses with him.
Tail looks good. Just hold your position right here. Okay, he's 10 feet below the skids. Okay, he's 20 feet below the skids. Okay, why don't you move to your right about 10 feet?
My main job is to direct the pilot to position A.O. Fluharty exactly where I want him.
Okay, you're gonna have to move another 5 feet. 4, 3, 2, 1. That's good right there. Okay, he's on the ground.
further up the hill, Josh was in serious trouble.
You could see him hanging by a large rock, and the rock started to give away. And at that point, I thought, oh man, it looks like we may lose this kid.
Fire 1, from Helijack, we're ready to recover one of the victims. We'll send the female up and then just lower the cable against the male.
Okay, he's hooking up. Just hold it right there.
I have to tell the pilot where I want him to be positioned so that I've got that cable just about as perfectly vertical as we can have it.
Okay, the victim's coming up.
If I don't have it real vertical, it'll create a swinging motion, and it could hit him into the rocks.
Okay, the victim's off the ground. Go ahead, move to your left. That's good right there. Okay, victim's 20 feet from the skids. 10 feet from the skids. Victim's at the skids. The victim's coming up above the skids.
How's she doing? She okay?
Okay, she's in the Okay, we're disconnecting right now. We're going to put the hook down for the next...
I try to lower that hook and get it to where it'll drop to the side or just in front of him, because I don't want the hook to touch him. Because of static electricity, they'll get a gnarly shock out of it.
That's good right there. Okay, taking up the slack. Okay, slack is up. Victim's off the ground. Okay, why don't you move to your left about 10 feet? That's good right there. Okay, victim's 20 feet from the skids. 10 feet from the skids. Okay, slow him down. Okay, 5 feet from the skids. Okay, the victim is at the skids, coming above the skids.
Sam, let me know when you want me to take
Okay, the victim is in the ship.
The first rescues went fairly routine. We hoisted them up. Both of them came up fine, no problem. But on the third rescue, I could see it was going to be a lot more difficult because of the terrain and the steepness of it. The kid was just hanging on there, ready to slide at a moment's notice.
Firefighter Chuck Fluherty stayed with Josh on the steep slope, while the chopper took Eric Beecham and Melissa Sullivan to safety.
Okay, lifting them up. Okay, move off to the left. Okay, move to your left. You're drifting to the right. Okay, he's touched down a little bit. I'm going to raise him up just a tad. Okay, now you can go ahead and move in. Okay,
You guide me because I can't really see.
Okay, move forward about 20 feet. Okay, you need to go about 10 more feet forward.
And at this point, it's a very difficult operation because you've got the turbulence that's coming down, hitting the side of the cliff, and also affecting the ship. And all the debris was flying everywhere, and rocks were starting to fall down on this kid.
It's a little bit too much. There, he's getting next to him. Okay, just hold your position right there.
The kid just lunged towards A.O. Fluharty, and their body began to twist a little bit. And at that point, it created what I call a human propeller.
Okay, they're starting to spin. Okay, you go ahead and move out a little bit to the left.
At that point, there was nothing I could do but watch. We were helpless. If you were to lower them back down on the hillside, they're going to hit the hillside and probably injure themselves.
I thought at that point there's a good possible chance that we might lose the kid. So the only thing I could do was just keep that hoist coming up and just hope for the best. As we got near the top, then we could see that, boy, he was really, really spinning. Then the next thought is, how are we going to stop him?
5 feet from the skids. Okay, they're coming up. They're just about to the skids.
He's spinning very rapidly as he's coming up, and the skids are in the way that he's going to obviously hit as he comes up. So we had to brake him or stop him from spinning prior to going above the skids to bring him in the aircraft.
Why don't you just try to stop with your foot?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
It's a thing where you have to use mind over matter and just say, I have to save this kid.
After being stranded for nearly 2 hours on the cliff, Josh Weiner, the last of the three friends, was pulled to safety.
Well, I tell you, it was hairy looking.
I don't think any of us are really heroes. I think we're well trained in the job that we do and are used to taking these risks. That's what we signed on to do, and we accept it.
I was grateful to him for saving my life because I know he really put his life in danger for it. And I remember getting into the helicopter and telling him I was going to name my first kid after him.
I was really happy that the rescuers came, and I was kind of thinking it would be neat to be one of the rescuers going down and helping people, because I saw the joy that I had when they came down for me, and I would like to put that or give that feeling to other people.
I am happy to be here, happy to be alive and safe now. And my whole summarized word for this whole thing would be thank you to the fire department. It would just be like, thanks.
But that's just part of the job. We do this every day. This is fun stuff.
Next.
Dave was up on shore. It was then when I heard this crunching sound.
In a narrow canyon along the American River, Mike Astle and his cousin Dave Burgess were prospecting for gold, dreaming of striking it rich.
We got up early that morning. We're excited, anxious to get going. I started using the dredge first, sucking up the rocks and stuff with the big hose that you use to suck the gold out off the bottom with. And Dave was up on shore while I was down underneath the water. It was then when I heard this crunching sound. I was scrambling, trying to get out of the hole. That's when I turned around and saw Dave underneath the water, pinned. I realized that he wasn't going to last very long underneath the rock without air. And I took the regulator out of my mouth and put it in his mouth, but the regulator didn't work. So I screamed for help.
Just down the river, 3 other prospectors were heading into town to fix a broken dredger when Hungarian immigrant Joe Sully heard Mike's cries.
I heard very, very quietly the yelling, and I yelled to my friends, "Hey, come on!"
From the nearest campsite on the river, gold miner Bob Ellis rushed to help his neighbors.
The instinctive thing for me to do was to try to lift the rock. But it was very heavy. It wouldn't budge. It was a frightful situation. Dave, I thought he was dead.
The 1.5-ton boulder had pinned Dave just 3 inches below the surface of the water. He could see the air just above him, but could not reach it.
I saw Dave's face. He lost consciousness already. Chris, my friend from Poland, mouth by mouth, he pushed the first shot of air into Dave's body.
A professor of physical education visiting from Poland, Chris had special training in underwater mouth-to-mouth respiration. Seeing they were making no progress, another miner ran to find someone with the CB radio, who then drove to the top of the canyon to get a call for help out. The distress call was relayed to rescue units in the field.
Medic 45, that's affirmative, responding, American River Canyon.
When Chris tired, Joe took over the cold and exhausting work of trying to breathe life into Dave. They alternated, unwilling to give up. One of the men remembered he had a large crowbar at his campsite and ran to get it. The minutes were passing, and none of the men knew how much longer they could keep going.
Running the dredge seemed to help the situation. We removed some gravel. By the time the pry bar did arrive, we were able to position it to where we could get a leverage without causing injury.
In one moment I felt the body is moving, but he looked dead.
Hurry! Get him out of there!
After more than 10 minutes trapped underwater, Dave's limp body was pried out from under the boulder.
He had to be brought back to life. Chris knew how. Chris instructed me very shortly. You pump him up, and I'm gonna to do the hard massage. After the second push, he started to breathe, and that was the moment when Chris, in Polish, yelled, "Żyje, żyje," which means he's in life. Everybody's hand fell down, and we felt real good.
The nearest ambulance had been miles away by rough dirt roads at the time the call for help came in. Dave was coughing up blood from ruptured vessels in his lungs, but breathing shallowly on his own, as senior medic Joe Cross reached him.
When we arrived at the scene, Mr. Burgess was singing praises towards his rescuers. He was exhilarated to be alive, and he was praying quite a bit. The rescuers were timely. They appeared to have delivered the appropriate rescue measures, and I think that without those measures, Mr. Burgess would not be alive today.
The next thing I remember is thinking, wow, rivers in heaven. That was my first thought, because I heard the water, and it was like I was dreaming almost.
It was a very frightening feeling to see the possibility of death and how fast it can happen.
There was kind of a unison there, the way the people responded in this crisis, and I think that was one of the key factors in the success of the rescue. There was no one hero that day.
Dave is no longer prospecting. He and his wife Lori live near Sacramento with the 2 sons he would never have seen without the aid of a half a dozen strangers on the banks of the American River.
The men that helped my husband have a caring heart, because not everybody would have come to the call for help. Some people would have just said, I don't want to get involved, and I really admire them for that strength and courage to go and help to save my husband's life.
It's just amazing that the right people were there at the right time. I consider my rescue a miracle.
Step out of the car, please.